So that's pretty much how you can do filtering just off the bat within a document library. But a powerful feature within SharePoint is called views. And this is something that I highly recommend that anyone that's using SharePoint learn to use and learn to understand because the views can definitely make and break your experience in SharePoint. Filtering is something that is, I always like it, easy to find stuff. Instead of maybe searching, filtering I find is very valuable. So in SharePoint, filtering comes in by way of the views, typically, and then obviously you can filter by the columns. And filtering works the same in both lists and libraries. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about filtering in SharePoint. And namely, we're going to use the document library as an example. We might jump into lists as well, but again, it's exactly the same way. Okay, and again, the difference between a list and a library is document library contains documents and the metadata supports the documents versus a list. Basically, it's metadata about metadata. So it's just rows and columns of information and not typically documents. That's the biggest difference between a list and a library. To filter, it's pretty straightforward. Depending on the type of column you have. Some columns may be readily filterable versus some that are not. Let's see the name. As you can see, there's no filter option to filter by the name. You can filter by the modified date, content type, things like that. So it really depends on the type of column that you're using. Sometimes if you're doing like if you're building out views or if you want to strategize how people are going to consume the data, you want to consider the type of columns that you're going to create. So if you just create all single line of text columns, those are not going to be filterable. Like, so for example, this is a single line of text, name is a single line of text is not filterable, but something like a drop down, something that has a specific value, that's typically filterable. In terms of architecture, things like that, you might want to consider that if you're ever in that position to architect and design how a document library might need to be for a particular project team or things like that. So, so let's do some filtering. Content type, we could do filter by. So what I did, I just simply clicked on the drop down. And then you could also filter, in ascending or descending order, of course, which is pretty standard. And then you could also filter by, and then now I can just, filter based off of the different type of content type. So here I have a folder. If I click apply, now it's removing everything and it's only showing me that folder. If I want to cancel a filter, I just simply click here, or I can click on here, clear filters, and it'll basically do the same thing. And then I could also group by. So I can also, group by, and then now it's kind of allowing me to roll up based off of the dot column I'm grouping by. And then of course you have column settings and things like that, but we're not gonna really, well, I guess we could. So there's a pin to filter pane. So it looks like now you can have this filter pinned to the filters if you like. And there's a lot of options here. So you can move left. So this is more relating to the column itself. But as you can see, there's a lot of options. You can total. So I can total if I wanted to. And then it shows me the total count of items based off of the total count. And if you want to undo, you could just uncheck. And so let's move on to another one. So document status, again, you can filter from not necessarily ascending like this one or descending, but this one has A to Z, Z to A, and then I can do filter, and then now I can focus on just the empty ones, completed, not started. So I do completed, it will hide everything and remove everything else. It will only show me what's completed and remove everything else. And then of course I can just cancel, click on the X, and then it'll reset back to default. So that's pretty much how you can do filtering just off the bat within a document library. But a powerful feature within SharePoint is called views. And this is something that I highly recommend that anyone that's using SharePoint learn to use and learn to understand because the views can definitely make and break your experience in SharePoint. So how to get to the views, again, works the same way in lists as well. So we can quickly go to a list as well, just to show you that everything's exactly the same. So just like this list, you can filter by, things like that, and filter by the date, etc., etc., and then older, newer, things like that. Okay, so back to documents. So how to get to the views? You simply go to the top right corner within the contextual navigational area, and then you simply click on the drop down where it says all documents. That's the default view for any document library or even lists as well. I think with lists, it'll say all list items or all items. Okay. So this is the default view for all types of libraries within SharePoint. So either with the list, it's all items, and this is what you see, and then document libraries, it's all documents. So first thing you'll see is you can drastically change the user experience. So we can do compact view, and then we can do tiles view. So this is a nice way if you have like a lot of images, things like that, then you can do a nice little tile view. But what we want to focus on is we want to focus on the actual views. So we can edit our current view. And so this is basically the view, the edit of this current view, which is all documents. As you can see, it's showing all of the different metadata or columns that we have currently showing for this view. So there's our document status that we created a while back. And then here you see how it's sorting. It's sorting by default like this. And then you have options to set filters. And this is where it gets interesting. So right now it's showing everything. So it says show all items. But if we wanted to have this view to only show certain things, so basically if you recall, in the columns we're manually setting, the document status to complete and stuff like that. We could set that as a view. So we could say document status equal to completed. And basically what this will do is it'll do exactly what we did, but automatically for us. We're not going to have to always, when we come to this library, always do the filtering. Now this view is going to filter it for us. So we'll just quickly do that, and we'll just quickly go back and see what it looks like. So now this view, anytime I come here and anytime somebody else comes to this library, they're only going to see this library or this document because we have edited this view to only show documents that are completed. So obviously that's not ideal. We don't want to do that. So we'll set that back to all items. And if we click OK, then now it shows everything. But what if we actually do want to do that? The best way to do it is we create a new view. So let's create a new view, and then we'll call it completed items. And then here, just giving you options as how you want this view to look. You can set as a calendar view or a gallery view. So we're just going to keep it basic in the list. So now that we have that, our view, as you can see, our view has changed, or the view name has changed. And then now what we do is we click on Edit Current View. And then now we can do what we did earlier under all documents, but now under our own view. All right, so let's look for it. Document status is equal to completed. And so now this is our view, and then we have a new view. So now we have two views. We go to all documents, which would be the default for everybody. They're going to see this, but then if somebody wants to just look at all views, they can come here and then they'll have this option. They'll see this option now, and they can just look for completed stuff. So again, views are very powerful. It's a great thing to understand within SharePoint. It definitely makes the experience a lot more tolerable. One thing that you'll notice is you could also set the current view as default. So this is currently the default view. I can set this one to be the current view if I wanted to. So that's an option. One other thing that you can do, what I like about SharePoint is, let's go back to the all documents view. Well, no, let's create a new view. And call this view no folders. And so what I'm doing now, I'm creating a view, but I'm creating a view where I am gonna remove all the folders. So let's say, for example, there's tons of folders and I don't know where some documents are. So now what I could do is I can create a no folders view. And then at the bottom here, there's a little option called folders. Specify whether to navigate to folders to view items or to view all items at once. So that's currently set to show items inside folders. So that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all the folders. So we do that. Then now if we click OK, now you'll notice the folder the folder is gone. And it's simply because what we've done is we've just basically removed all folders and we're telling SharePoint to show me everything that exists within this document library. Show me everything. Remove all the folders, just show me all the documents and remove all the folders. That's basically what this folder view is. And again, it's very handy if you have a lot of nested folders. Now you don't necessarily have to click through. You could just create a view that just hides all the folders. And I always like that idea and that capability. And there, so now if we go back to our regular default view, here is the folder again, and here are all the documents within this folder. So again, when we go to no folder view, it basically brings all those documents that were in that folder view to this root view, this root location within the document library, so I can see everything in one shot for this document library. So that's basically it about filtering. There's so much more we can do, but interest of time, I don't want to make this too long. So hopefully it was fruitful. Again, I do a lot of training on this stuff. So if you're interested in more depth, more tips, more tricks, and more ideas, you could definitely sign up and yeah, learn a lot more. Okay, thank you. Have a good one.